You did not know you were being tested, and that is why the test mattered. The most important examinations in life never announce themselves. They do not come with instructions, warnings, or timelines. They arrive disguised as ordinary days, heavy emotions, repeated disappointments, and silent struggles that no one applauds. You were not told, this is a test of your patience. You were not informed, this moment will measure your discipline. Instead, life watched how you behaved when no one was watching, how you reacted when nothing went your way, and how you treated yourself when you felt unseen, unheard, and unrecognized. In the Shaolin understanding of life, true cultivation happens in silence. The body is trained openly, but the spirit is trained in secrecy. When discomfort enters your life, it is not punishment. It is instruction. Every delay you faced was asking one simple question. Can you remain steady when progress is slow? Every rejection was asking another. Can you remain respectful when your ego feels wounded? Every moment of loneliness was asking, can you stand in your own presence without running away from yourself? You were tested in moments of exhaustion, when your body was tired, but responsibility still waited. You were tested in moments of temptation, when it would have been easy to choose comfort over discipline. You were tested in moments of anger, when reacting would have felt justified, but restraint would have been wiser. Strength in the warrior's path is not the ability to overpower others. It is the ability to govern oneself. Anyone can explode, few can contain. There were days when quitting would have made sense. Days when no one would have blamed you for giving up. Those days were not accidents. They were checkpoints. Life was observing whether your commitment depended on motivation or on principle. Motivation is emotional and temporary. Principle is quiet and stable. When you continued despite lacking motivation, you demonstrated principle. That is rare. That is why it was noticed. You may think you survived by luck, but luck does not explain consistency. Luck does not explain endurance. Luck does not explain why you kept moving forward, even when the results did not match the effort. That persistence came from something deeper than emotion. It came from an inner agreement you made with yourself, even if you were not fully conscious of it. An agreement that said, I will not betray myself, even when it hurts. In Shaolin teaching, the body reveals the truth of the mind. A shaky stance shows a distracted mind. A steady posture reflects inner alignment. Life placed you in unstable situations to see whether you would collapse inwardly or adjust and find balance. Each challenge was like uneven ground beneath your feet. You were forced to strengthen your foundation, not for appearance, but for survival. Over time, without realizing it, you became more grounded. There were moments when you wanted answers, clarity, and reassurance. Instead, you received silence. Silence is a powerful teacher. It forces you to listen inward. It strips away excuses. It reveals whether you trust only when guided, or whether you can walk when the path is unclear. Many fail this test. They demand certainty before action. You acted without certainty. That is courage. You were also tested in how you treated others while carrying your own burdens. Pain often makes people sharp, impatient, and self-centered. If you still showed restraint, fairness, or kindness while under pressure, that was not weakness. That was mastery. It takes strength to remain humane while suffering. Anyone can be gentle when life is easy. Very few can remain balanced when life is heavy. The test was not about perfection. You were never expected to be flawless. You were observed for recovery. How quickly you returned to center after falling off balance. How honestly you faced your mistakes. How willing you were to learn rather than defend your ego. In martial training, falling is not failure. Refusing to stand again is. Each time you stood up, even slowly, you passed another unseen examination. You were tested in your relationship with time. Impatience reveals immaturity of spirit. Rushing reveals fear. When you learn to wait without bitterness, to work without immediate reward, you prove that your mind was becoming less reactive and more intentional. Time respects those who respect discipline. That mutual respect was being established within you. There were moments when resentment could have taken root. Moments when blaming others, circumstances, or fate would have been easy. Blame offers temporary relief but long-term weakness. Responsibility feels heavy at first, but it builds power. Each time you chose responsibility over blame, you strengthened your inner authority. You became less dependent on external validation and more anchored in self-respect. This test also examined how you speak to yourself. In private moments when no one corrected you, how harsh or how patient were you with your own failures? Self-cruelty does not create strength. It creates fracture. If you learn to correct yourself firmly, but without hatred, you learned the way of the disciplined warrior, firmness without violence, clarity without cruelty. You may not realize it, but your nervous system adapted. What once overwhelmed you no longer does. What once felt unbearable became manageable. This is not numbness. This is capacity. Capacity grows through exposure, not avoidance. God does not congratulate avoidance. God congratulates expansion. You expanded without applause. When the message says congratulations, it is acknowledging that you passed something internal, something invisible to others, a threshold of maturity. You no longer collapse under pressure the way you once did. You no longer seek escape as quickly. You pause, you breathe, you observe. That pause is power. The test was also about identity. Would you define yourself by outcomes or by conduct? Outcomes fluctuate, conduct remains. When you continue to act with integrity, even when outcomes disappointed you, you separated your worth from results. That separation is freedom. A free mind cannot be easily manipulated, rushed, or broken. You were tested when things improved slightly. Improvement is also a test. It asks whether you become arrogant or remain grounded, whether you relax discipline prematurely or maintain consistency. Stability is built by those who treat small success with humility. If you did not lose yourself when conditions improved, that was noticed too. Congratulations does not mean the test is over forever. It means you passed this level. In the Shaolin path, advancement is quiet. There is no ceremony. The only sign is increased responsibility. You are now trusted with more weight, not less. More awareness, not comfort. More self-governance, not indulgence. If you look back honestly, you will see that you are not the same person you were before the struggle. You see more clearly. You react less impulsively. You endure more calmly. These are not coincidences. These are results of training you did not know you were undergoing. God congratulates those who grow without being told they are growing. Those who endure without demanding recognition. Those who remain disciplined even when progress feels invisible. You are being shaped quietly, like steel under pressure. So if you are seeing this today, understand this deeply. You passed a test you did not know you were taking, because your character was stronger than your awareness of it. Now your awareness is catching up. Stand still for a moment. Feel the weight you can now carry. That is not accidental. That is earned. Most people move through life with their eyes open, but their awareness asleep. They react, consume, chase, worry, repeat, yet they rarely observe. Awareness is not intelligence, and it is not information. Awareness is the ability to notice what is happening within you and around you without immediately being controlled by it. When awareness rises, life begins to communicate differently. Messages that once passed unnoticed suddenly stand still in front of you. If this message reached you today, it is not because you searched for it. It is because your inner state made space for it. In the Shaolin understanding, the mind is like water. When it is constantly disturbed, nothing can be seen clearly. When it becomes still, even small details appear sharp and meaningful. Most people live in turbulence. Their thoughts are loud, their desires endless, their fears constant. In such a state, even if truth stands directly in front of them, they cannot recognize it. Awareness rises only when a person has been refined by experience, usually by struggle, usually by silence, usually by disappointment. You did not suddenly become aware overnight. Awareness is cultivated slowly, often through pain. Each time something did not go as planned, it forced you to reflect. Each time distraction failed to bring peace, it pushed you inward. Each time noise exhausted you, you began to value quiet. This is how awareness grows, not through comfort, but through contrast. Many people receive signs but dismiss them. They are too busy interpreting life through expectation instead of observation. When awareness rises, expectation loosens. You stop demanding that life look a certain way. You start asking what life is trying to teach you in its current form. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. It turns frustration into instruction, It turns waiting into preparation. Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes that clarity does not come from adding more, but from removing excess. Excess thinking, excess desire, excess reaction. When you began to release what no longer served you, even unconsciously, your inner space expanded. And in space, meaning appears. This message reaching you today is not special because of its words. It is special because you were receptive enough to receive it. Awareness also changes how time feels. When the mind is scattered, time feels rushed or wasted. When awareness grows, time becomes precise. You begin to sense when to act and when to wait. You feel less urgency to force outcomes. This does not make you passive. It makes you accurate. A precise strike requires stillness before movement. Life was teaching you precision. You may notice that lately you have become less interested in chaos, less drawn to drama, less tolerant of meaningless conversations. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. Awareness refines taste. Just as a trained body rejects poor posture, a trained mind rejects poor input. You no longer consume everything offered to you. You choose more carefully. That is a sign of inner maturity. As awareness rises, loneliness may appear, not because you lack people, but because fewer people resonate with your frequency. This phase confuses many. They think something is wrong. In truth, something is changing. When awareness increases, superficial bonds loosen. This creates space for deeper connection later. First with yourself, then with others who share that depth. This message appeared at a moment when your awareness was high enough to pause and consider it. Many would scroll past. Many would dismiss it as coincidence. But you felt something subtle, a stillness, a recognition, a quiet confirmation. That feeling does not come from belief. It comes from alignment. Alignment between your internal state and the message you encountered. In Shaolin training, a student is not taught advanced techniques until their awareness is sufficient. Otherwise, power becomes dangerous. The same principle applies to life. Opportunities, responsibilities, and messages appear only when awareness can handle them. If this message arrived today, it means you are no longer operating purely on impulse. You are beginning to observe before acting, to listen before speaking, to feel before judging. Awareness also reveals patterns. You start noticing repeated lessons, repeated behaviors, repeated emotional loops. And instead of blaming fate, you begin asking, what am I being asked to understand? This question alone elevates consciousness. It shifts you from victimhood to participation. Life stops happening to you and stops working with you. You may have noticed that your reactions are slower now. Not weaker, slower. There is a pause between stimulus and response. In that pause lies freedom. Viktor Frankl spoke of this pause as the space where choice lives. Shaolin philosophy recognizes it as mastery. Anyone can react instantly. Only a disciplined mind can delay reaction long enough to choose correctly. As awareness rises, intuition sharpens. Intuition is not magic. It is the mind's ability to recognize patterns faster than conscious thought. When mental noise decreases, intuition becomes audible. You begin to feel when something is right or wrong without logical explanation. This is not irrational. It is refined perception. This is why the message says congratulations. Not because you arrived somewhere externally, but because internally you crossed a threshold. You are no longer asleep. Not fully awake perhaps. Awakening is a process, but no longer unconscious. You are starting to see how your inner state shapes your outer experience. Awareness also brings responsibility. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you notice your patterns, excuses lose power. This can feel heavy at first. Ignorance is lighter, but it is also limiting. Awareness is heavier, but it is liberating. You are now capable of correcting course instead of repeating cycles blindly. Many people fear awareness because it demands honesty. Honest observation of habits, of fears, of inconsistencies. You did not run from that honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. That willingness to face yourself is rare. That is why this message aligns with you today. In the Shaolin path, progress is internal before it is external. The world may not yet reflect your growth, but the inner foundation is being set. And when the foundation is strong, construction becomes inevitable. You are in the phase where roots deepen. Roots grow in darkness, unseen. But without them, nothing stands. This message did not come to entertain you. It came to acknowledge a shift, a quiet shift, a deep one. Awareness is rising within you, and with it comes the ability to live deliberately rather than accidentally. Remain attentive. Remain grounded. Do not rush to announce your awareness. Live it. Protect it. Awareness is fragile in its early stages. Guard it from excess noise, negativity, and distraction. If you do this, more clarity will come, more precise guidance, more meaningful encounters. Life speaks continuously. Most people cannot hear it. You are beginning to listen. That is why this message appeared today. Many people hear the word, congratulations, and immediately think of reward, ease, or arrival. They imagine a finish line, a pause, a moment to relax. But in the deeper laws that govern growth, congratulations rarely mean rest. They mean readiness. They mean trust. They mean that you have demonstrated the capacity to carry more weight without collapsing. When God says congratulations, it is not an applause for comfort. It is an acknowledgement of responsibility. In the path of discipline, recognition comes quietly, and it comes early, before the real weight is added. A warrior is not praised after the battlefield. He is entrusted before it. When this message reached you, it was not saying, "You have done enough." It was saying, "You have shown enough control to be given more. More awareness, more duty, more influence over your own life and indirectly over others." Responsibility is misunderstood because people associate it with burden. In truth, responsibility is power in its most raw form. To be responsible means you are no longer waiting for permission. You are no longer blaming conditions. You are no longer negotiating with excuses. You are capable of choosing correctly even when it is uncomfortable. That capability is rare. That is why it is recognized. In Shaolin teaching, the student who shows discipline is not rewarded with praise, but with harder training. Not to punish him, but to refine him. Easy training does not build mastery. Easy circumstances do not build character. If life has been pressing you harder lately, if expectations feel higher, if your tolerance for nonsense has decreased, this is not misfortune. It is alignment with responsibility. Congratulations also means that you are being watched less closely. This may sound strange, but guidance reduces as trust increases. When a child is learning to walk, hands are held constantly. When balance improves, support withdraws. This is not abandonment. It is respect. If you feel that answers are not being handed to you as directly as before, it means you are expected to find them within. Responsibility begins internally. Before you are entrusted with external roles, you are tested with internal governance. Can you manage your thoughts when no one corrects you? Can you regulate your emotions when no one comforts you? Can you stay disciplined when no one is monitoring you? These are not small matters. They determine whether power will corrupt you or refine you. Many people desire purpose without responsibility. They want meaning without structure, freedom without discipline, recognition without obligation. This imbalance always leads to collapse. Purpose without responsibility creates arrogance. Freedom without discipline creates chaos. Recognition without obligation creates emptiness. God does not congratulate those states. God congratulates readiness. If this message reached you, it means you have demonstrated a level of self-control that makes further growth safe. Safe not in the sense of comfort, but in the sense of stability. You are less likely to misuse opportunity, less likely to waste energy, less likely to be intoxicated by attention or derailed by emotion. That does not mean you are perfect. It means you are teachable. Responsibility also means your actions now echo further. When awareness rises, influence expands. Even if you do not speak much, your presence carries weight. People observe consistency more than words. They feel steadiness more than motivation. If your life is becoming more ordered, it will quietly affect those around you. That influence is a responsibility, whether you claim it or not. This is why congratulations can feel heavy. A subtle seriousness may enter your life. You may feel less playful with trivial things, less patient with self-sabotage, less tolerant of excuses, especially your own. This is not loss of joy, it is refinement of joy. Joy becomes quieter, more grounded, less dependent on stimulation. Responsibility demands clarity of values. When you were less aware, you could drift. Now drift feels uncomfortable. Indecision feels expensive. Every choice carries weight. This can feel pressuring at first, but it is the pressure that shapes direction. A compass is useless without a magnetic field. responsibility is that field. In the Shaolin path, discipline is an expression of respect. Respect for the body, respect for time, respect for potential. When you begin to respect yourself, life responds by expecting more from you. That expectation is a form of trust. God does not place expectations on what is unstable. He places them on what can endure. You may notice that shortcuts no longer satisfy you. Even when they work, they feel empty. This is because responsibility has entered your system. You now understand, at least intuitively, that how something is achieved matters as much as the outcome. This understanding separates those who build lasting structures from those who chase temporary results. Congratulations also means you